Greetings everyone, welcome to Nick's Mods. Well, the day has come to say goodbye to the people of Magna and Magna, sorta. My Glatorian mods have been just that, tweaks of existing characters, but the Bionicle side of Nick's Mods is capping off with a couple of OCs, a sister of the Skrull and a Glatorian of Earth. They're besties. They didn't have names in the beginning, and this one wasn't even really a Glatorian, just a Nagori Gresh fangirl. Look, it was at least 8 years ago. Here's a close-up if you want to recreate this torso build for your Agori or Matoran. I'd only just started modding these characters, starting with Gresh. By the time about half were underway, this one got a growth spur and a bendy waist like Kina, Attackas's mask for its rounder, slimmer feel, a handheld pistol-like Thornex launcher like Gresh, Tuma's colors, and she just felt so generic. The character needed a hook beyond just being a girl Skrull. I thought about freezing desert nights, blue sand lit up by the moon, and swapped her obnoxious lime green for a haunting dark blue. The 2-clawed feet, bat-wing skirts, and skull spider shoulder pads gave her a slightly gothic feel, but it wasn't enough. I piled on some 2015 skull armor, even on her chest, claws behind the shoulders, and I wanted to give her a unique helmet, flipping a newest 2016 mask to look like silvery bangs. I even used a 2008 shield as a hood. It was around this time I started designing my Glatorian of Earth, who mostly came together much quicker. I knew I wanted her mostly reddish-brown, tying her closer to the Vorox's accents, though I also juggled dark green and Tardex's helmet. She was basically Avok from the waist down, so I opted for chicken-like clawed feet instead of the bigger, flatter ones, better for digging. But there are only so many reddish-brown molds, and I wanted her to have a distinct elemental texture like almost every Glatorian has. Malam's flames, Strax's ice, Kina's fins. So for Earth, I went with these big lumpy CCBS fists. And there aren't any reddish-brown helmet molds, so I put another fist piece over her head, attached from the side by an axle and a ball. And I added a couple of danglies so the other side didn't feel so bare. And for the next many years, her weapon was a Skull Basher axe with an integrated Thornex launcher. These two still needed work, but I think it may have been around this time, if not later, that I'd finally picked their names, which I wanted to make sure were Latin like other Glatorian names for consistency. Soli, a translation and anagram for soil, and Nocte, meaning midnight. I'm happy with how pretty these names are. I set both of them aside for a few months, focusing on other mods that you've already seen, but that experience ended up helping these along later. The release of reddish-brown CCBS shells was a boon for Soli, giving her that smooth or organic feel of my other Glatorian. I also added dangling roots, which look like hair and like a big clump of dirt with exposed roots you just pulled out of the ground. She was much more streamlined now, her colors simplified and her shaping cleaned up. Nocte I just kept overcomplicating, now with bright yellowish green to channel the moon, and a skull spider helmet with more danglies. I eventually went back to Attackas's helmet, slimmed down the shoulders, and streamlined the colors with more glow-in-the-dark bits. The two ended up very complementary, Soli top-heavy and Nocte taller and bottom-heavy. My favorite addition to Nocte was a waist cape made from a sail for minifigs. Glatorian wearing clothing, not just armor, is something I like to see in mocks. I just look at her and hear Amy Lee singing. Now for their backstories. After the Element Lord of Earth instigated the core war that destroyed the planet, Earth Glatorian had a bad name. While most ended up on Magna, Soli was left behind on Magna, an outcast to her people for not standing by the Element Lord of Earth, and now an outcast to the rest of the elements, a scapegoat. Nocte was cast out for different reasons. She was a Skrull. Now she's a sister of the Skrull. She even named herself Nocte, and now neither Skrull tribe accepts her. The male Skrull are disgusted that she betrayed their gender because girls are yucky and have cooties, and the sisters think this is some dirty Skrull trick to kill them all or something. On the run from both tribes trying to snuff her, Nocte runs into Soli, and the two become partners, both outcasts from outcast tribes. They don't have a lot of friends, but Gresh and Gelu have helped them out a few times. Even Metis chats with them when no one's looking. When Matanui reforms the three worlds into a new Spherius Magna, the two have a chance to start a new life for themselves. I've sat on these OCs for months and months, mainly cause Soli didn't quite feel complete yet. But while producing this video, I dug up an extra pair of claws to use as big bear-like hands, and covered up the awkward sideways wrists with new weapons, a separate Thornex launcher, and a shovel. I like to think at some point these two somehow get elemental dirt and stone powers, their new Toa and Matoran neighbors confusing their elements because the colors are reversed. Or maybe they don't, because Matanui gives the pair each other's elements just like he gave Gresh, a plant guy, air powers because he's green. I also broke up Soli's browns with skirt armor, though I can't yet decide if I should replace the mismatched medium brown with a silver or black crotch panel. Still, it just goes to show you how these sorts of projects are never really complete. Who knows how these two may look years from now. But today I love what they add to the Glatorian world. They were built to scale with my mods, but they managed to fit in just enough with official sets, especially Soli, that it feels right to give them each a hit counter. I've since sold all of my Glatorian mods to Duck Bricks, but I'm keeping these two, though I wouldn't be against lending them out for review someday. Well, that's it. That's all of my Bionicle Glatorian mods. I hope you love these ladies as much as I do. That's it for today. Check out my books on Amazon and itch.io, and my Patreon page to get videos like this early, your name in the credits, behind the scenes content, a patron Discord server, signed copies of Planet Ripple, and maybe even your own LEGO Rewind episode. See you next mod. Toodles!